Stock futures are near flat Thursday night as investors analyzed the fresh batch of corporate earnings and attempted to look beyond the latest inflation reading. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 18 points, trading near the flatline. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures were also both little changed. In after-hours action, software provider Adobe dropped nearly 11% on weak sales guidance. Beauty stock Ulta slid more than 6% after its full-year earnings forecast largely underwhelmed analysts. Those moves follow a losing day on Wall Street. The Dow slipped more than 100 points, or about 0.4%, to snap a three-day winning streak. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq each fell around 0.3%. Thursday's retreat came after February's Producer Price Index, a gauge of wholesaler inflation, advanced more than economists anticipated. Bond yields climbed in the session, with the benchmark 10-year Treasury reaching 4.29%, as investors wondered if the recent economic data was too strong for the Federal Reserve to loosen monetary policy. To be sure, Fed funds futures are pricing in a 99% likelihood of the central bank keeping interest rates unchanged at its policy meeting next week, according to the CME FedWatch Tool. But recent economic releases could throw into question whether the Fed feels inflation has cooled enough to begin lowering levels later this year, said Mark Luschini, chief investment strategist at Janney Montgomery Scott. The path toward a 2% target rate has, at least of recent, been anything but linear, Luschini said. I think that's enough just to curb the enthusiasm, if you will, of market participants. Luschini cautioned that a slide like Thursday's can also be considered normal after recent gains. Despite the leg down, the Dow and S&P 500 are still tracking to end the week up around 0.5%, while the Nasdaq is on pace to add 0.3%. All three are also higher on the year. Investors will watch Friday morning for economic data on topics such as consumer sentiment, import prices and industrial production. Despite Thursday's retreat, the three major averages remained on track to end the week higher. The Dow and S&P 500 were slated to end the week up around 0.5% each. The Nasdaq Composite, meanwhile, was poised to add 0.3%. These are some of the stocks seeing notable action in extended trading. See the full list here. Futures tied to the Dow, S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 all traded near flat shortly after 6 p.m. Eastern Time.